Welcome to another video. Today we're starting off on quite an extraordinary. We're going to a land that Homer's Iliad calls home to, the neighborhood Ethiopia, a place ancient Greeks actually believed was the very source of Egyptian civilization.
Right, where we supposedly went to God.
Exactly. We're talking about Ethiopia, a nation whose recorded traditions stretch back, well, potentially over 20,000 years, making it home to some of the oldest continuous cultural practices, really, in human history.
And that's such a crucial point because, for far too long, Western narratives often pigeonholed Africa as this sort of dark continent,
Right.
devoid of its own history.
Right.
But Ethiopia, it stands as this powerful living counter-narrative. It really affirms deep African agency and a truly unique indigenous modernity that's flourished, with high culture and complex civilization for millennia. It's a testament to continuous innovation.
Absolutely. So what exactly are we exploring today? You've shared a truly fascinating collection of sources. They paint such a vivid picture of Ethiopia's amazing civilization, from its earliest known origins right up to its modern challenges and, frankly, its profound global impact.
That's the goal.
Our mission, then, is to extract those vital nuggets of knowledge, connect the dots across these vast stretches of time, and reveal why this incredibly rich tapestry is so relevant, to understanding our interconnected world today. This is where the story truly begins to unfold.
We'll delve into Ethiopia's cultural bedrock, trace its evolution and its remarkable resilience over thousands of years.
Resilience is key there.
Definitely.
Why?
We'll examine its distinct, often awe-inspiring architecture, its vibrant literary and artistic traditions, and the profound, multifaceted influence of its diverse religious landscape.
And our journey won't stop there, right? We'll trek through its dramatic geography, try to unravel the complexities of its 4 major language families.
Yeah, that linguistic diversity is incredible.
Isn't it? And we'll follow the footsteps of its pivotal leaders, from, legendary ancient kings all the way to modern emperors, navigating periods of both profound national unity and sometimes intense internal conflict.
It's real epic.
It is. And as we piece together this narrative, you'll discover that Ethiopia's story isn't just its own. It's deeply intertwined with these global narratives of identity, freedom, and really the very essence of human civilization.
Yeah.
The enduring cultural bedrock, traditions that bind and define. Okay, let's begin by exploring the core of Ethiopian identity. Our sources consistently emphasize that traditions form the bedrock of Ethiopia's enduring people and culture, spanning millennia, pointing to a civilization with high culture for over 20,000 years. That's mind-boggling.
It really is.
When we speak of traditions this ancient and deeply embedded, what specific aspects of Ethiopian life are we really looking at here?
Well, these aren't just superficial customs. These traditions are comprehensive. They cover everything from spiritual beliefs and intricate social structures to daily practices, agricultural methods, artistic expressions. They represent this complex, dynamic interplay of indigenous origins, often predating major external influences, and then subsequent adaptations to new ideas, new challenges.
So they evolve.
Exactly. All while maintaining this organic continuity that's genuinely rare. For instance, the very fabric of community life, familial bonds.
Oh.
It's woven with practices you can trace back through countless generations, creating this profound sense of rootedness, of collective identity that has just consistently shaped the nation.
That's incredible. A cultural foundation that has persisted and evolved for such a long time. Ethiopia is also described often as a mosaic of nationalities speaking a multiplicity of languages.
A real mosaic, yeah.
How does a country with such immense internal diversity manage to maintain a cohesive cultural identity? What are some of these unifying elements that seem to transcend ethnic or linguistic lines?
That's a great question. Despite that astonishing diversity, certain cultural elements have indeed proven to be powerful unifying forces.
Like what?
The national dish is a prime example. Injera.
Yes.
This distinctive, spongy flatbread made from teff, this tiny iron-rich indigenous cereal. It isn't just staple food. It's explicitly identified in our sources as a unifying cultural element.
So it's more than just food.
Much more. It's shared across really every ethnic and linguistic background. It literally brings people together around the same meal, reinforcing a distinct Ethiopian identity in a way few other nations experience. It's like a daily ritual that subtly yet powerfully reminds everyone of their shared heritage.
That's a truly profound insight, a shared meal as a cornerstone of national unity. But beyond food, are there other societal structures, maybe more informal ones, that have historically promoted this cohesion, provided stability during times of change?
Absolutely. Ethiopia also boasts these remarkably robust indigenous social support networks. They're informal, deeply ingrained, operate from the bottom up, and they're practiced nationally across virtually all backgrounds. These traditions foster crucial social security stability, often stepping in where formal institutions might fall short, you know.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take the Eater. These are essentially neighborhood or sometimes workers' associations. Members pool funds and resources to provide immediate support in times of crisis, most commonly for funerals and related emergencies.
So like community insurance.
Kind of, yeah. A
Yeah.
very localized, community-driven version. Then there's the EQUAB. This is a rotating savings cooperative. Members make regular contributions, and one member receives a substantial lump sum in rotation.
Oh, I've heard of systems like that.
They're incredibly effective, provide crucial funding for everything from starting a small business to covering major expenses. It effectively serves as this community-driven, accessible financial institution.
And these cross-ethnic lines.
That's the fascinating part. The sources emphasize they transverse Ethiopian lives across linguistic, religious, or ethnic backgrounds. It demonstrates this deep, shared commitment to mutual aid, to collective well-being that binds the nation in these incredibly practical ways.
So these traditions are ancient, deeply rooted, but they haven't existed in isolation, have they? What kind of challenges have they faced over the centuries? And how have they adapted or maybe resisted to maintain their relevance today?
Oh, they faced a constant barrage of pressures, from internal power dynamics to external ideologies, you name it.
Like what specifically?
Well, during periods of, say, Amhara expansion, sources note that Amhara Christian culture was diffused to all regions, and in some cases, the conquered were forcibly Amharized and forced to abandon animist beliefs and embrace Coptic Christianity.
Wow, so direct coercive challenges.
Exactly. Later, with the advent of modernization and secularization efforts, you often saw conflicts with what our sources call conservative forces, people fiercely dedicated to the preservation of Ethiopian Orthodox Christian traditions. Even the Marxist-Leninist Derg regime, paradoxically, while claiming to uphold old Ethiopian traditions, they simultaneously nationalized church land and aggressively promoted Ethiopian socialism,
Yeah.
which fundamentally altered traditional social structures.
So a real push and pull.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And more recently, you have the Ethiopian diaspora playing a crucial role. They carry their own histories and imaginings of home to new lands.
Right.
You see artists skillfully representing their heritage in modern art forms. And then there's the global Rastafari movement's reverence for Haile Selassie as a fascinating external adaptation and reinterpretation of Ethiopian identity.
It really is.
Domestically, there are ongoing calls for a kind of remodernization, where traditional culture is thoughtfully applied to modern economic and political realities.
Trying to blend the old and new.
Precisely. The policy of ethnic federalism, for all its complexities and critics, was explicitly designed, at least in theory, to recognize local culture, history, and identities through education and media. And critically, you still have diaspora intellectuals challenging, quote, unbridled capitalism and westernization to the detriment of Ethiopian culture, advocating for a more balanced approach that safeguards unique cultural values.
This constant negotiation between ancient roots and modern currents, it really seems like a hallmark of Ethiopia's journey. It raises an important question, doesn't it? What does this ongoing tension, this push and pull, mean for preserving cultural heritage in our rapidly globalizing world?
It's a universal struggle.
Yeah. This saga demonstrates that universal struggle many nations face, balancing global influences with safeguarding their distinct cultural identity. 2. Architectural wonders, stones that speak volumes. Having explored those foundational traditions that knit Ethiopia together, we can now see how this enduring identity found, well, monumental expression in its architectural marvels.
Absolutely.
Our sources describe the Ethiopian stele, the obelisks in Aksum, as the highest of the land's indigenous art. What makes these towering structures so remarkable? What was their original purpose?
These massive pre-Christian gravestones and memorials. They're just an extraordinary testament to the immense technical skills involved.
How so?
Think about it. Quarrying these enormous stones, precisely carving them, transporting them, and then erecting them, the sheer scale and the intricate designs speak volumes about the Aksumite civilization's advanced engineering and artistic capabilities.
Yeah.
The elaborate architecture of these Aksumite monoliths and the churches that often accompanied them later It was largely reserved for ecclesiastical and royal prestige buildings, reflecting the power and sophistication of the empire.
Right.
And one particularly famous one, a 1700-year-old obelisk, controversially looted by Italy in 1937.
I remember reading about that.
It was famously returned to Aksum in 2005. And that wasn't just a physical return, it was this powerful act of cultural reclamation, a symbol of national dignity, highlighting the enduring significance these monuments hold in shaping national identity and pride.
That act of reclamation is truly a powerful statement. It showcases that ancient engineering prowess, but also the deep, abiding significance of monuments in a nation's identity.
hmm Building on that monumental legacy, another celebrated example, of course, is the 11 rock-hewn churches of Lalibela.
Ah, Labibala.
Constructed around 1250 AD, these are considered an extraordinary feat of architecture. I mean, imagine not building up, but rather digging down into solid volcanic rock
Right, carving
to
down.
create these intricate, fully formed churches, complete with windows, doors, interior frescoes.
That's truly striking. Our sources even mention that Ethiopians believe these churches were built with the help of holy angels. What's the story behind that belief? How are these structures actually created?
Well, indeed, the scale of the undertaking was so profound that many, even today, attribute their creation to divine assistance.
You can see why.
Definitely. They were literally excavated from solid blocks of rock. Deep trenches were carved around them to isolate the massive rock mass, which was then meticulously sculpted into these intricate church structures, some up to 3 stories high.
Incredible.
King Lalibela himself is revered as a saint, and his hagiography, the Godla Lalibela, reinforces that belief in divine intervention. However, and this is crucial, the sources also emphasize these monolithic churches are undeniably works of local craftsmen,
Ah, okay.
highlighting an astonishing level of indigenous technical skill and artistic ingenuity. It's this unique blend of spiritual devotion and human craftsmanship that's truly inspiring. It really pushes the boundaries of what was thought possible at the time.
Beyond these ancient sacred wonders, our sources also mention the castles of Gondar,
Right, a later period.
representing a crucial period of architectural innovation and royal patronage from the 17th century onwards. But what about the lives of average Ethiopians? How is their domestic architecture different from these grand official structures?
That's a good point. The castles of Gondar, like Faisal Gebi, they exemplify a later, perhaps more European-influenced period of royal architecture.
Yeah.
But they still fit within Ethiopia's long tradition of distinct and technically skilled building.
Okay.
Domestic architecture, though, varied significantly, based on social status, region, climate.
Makes sense.
Average villagers, for example, typically lived in modest, round tukul or agdo with cone-shaped roofs, often made from wood, mud, thatch, designed for practicality using local materials.
Right.
More prosperous individuals might have had more elaborate cylindrical wooden structures, sometimes strengthened with stone. Village chiefs and elites often resided in elaborate houses with upper stories, demonstrating a clear hierarchy even in domestic design.
Okay.
And then in major towns, particularly from the early 20th century onwards, officials and the burgeoning middle class began to adopt European-style modernist structures, reflecting changing tastes and external influences. So this whole spectrum of dwellings paints a really vivid picture of social stratification and cultural adaptation through architectural expression.
It's clear, then, that these architectural wonders demonstrate not just immense technical skill, but also this rich history of innovation and cultural expression, from sacred sites that seem to touch the sky, to royal residences, and down to the practical daily homes that reflect societal life. They are, quite literally, stones that speak volumes about Ethiopia's past.
Well said. 3. A vibrant cultural landscape: language, literature, and arts.
From the monumental structures, let's now turn to the vibrant cultural landscape expressed through language, literature, and the arts. Ethiopia has such a profound and ancient literary tradition.
Deep roots, absolutely.
Our sources mention Ge'ez as an ancient language, and then Amharic rising to prominence. Can you trace this evolution for us?
Sure. Gaze indeed holds this preeminent place. It emerged as the language of the church, profoundly influenced by the introduction of Coptic Christianity back in the 4th century AD.
Right, with King Azana.
Exactly. It quickly became the primary vehicle through which Abyssinian culture was spread to conquered peoples. Gaze functioned as this crucial filter for almost all literary creation. It integrated external influences, Egyptian, Hellenistic, Byzantine traditions, often brought via Red Sea trade, while maintaining a distinctly Ethiopian character.
So it wasn't just borrowing.
No, it was adaptation integration. Its intellectual prestige was such that European scholars, like Hayal Bludolf in the 17th century, dedicated foundational research to it, producing seminal works like Grammatica Ethiopica and Lexicon Ethiopico-Latinum, which actually became standard academic texts across Europe for a time.
Wow. So Gades was the classical sacred language, a language of deep scholarship, spiritual texts. When did Amharic, which is the official language today, begin to truly flourish and move into broader literary use?
Amharic literature started to gain recognition around the 17th century, initially appearing in more popular works, court documents, that sort of thing.
Okay.
It achieved what our sources call full emancipation in the 19th century, particularly under Emperor Theodore II.
Teodros.
Yes, Theodros II. He actively promoted its use for imperial unification, recognizing its potential as a language of the people, of the state. This marked a significant cultural shift. Ge'ez became largely confined to ecclesiastical and scholarly use after that.
Interesting.
The relationship between Ge'ez and modern Amharic is quite analogous, really, to that of Latin and the Romance languages. It shows that natural, organic linguistic evolution.
Right.
Today, English also serves as a second official working language. But interestingly, you can find early forms of Amharic in things like soldier songs, dating way back to Emperor Amdasian the Saint's reign, that's 1313 to 1344, long before its formal literary surge.
So it was always there, simmering.
Exactly. This evolution really underscores how language isn't static. It adapts to political and social needs. It serves as this powerful tool for both religious devotion and national identity.
Building on this linguistic foundation, our sources describe a remarkable literary renaissance in the mid-1960s. Who were the key figures that truly shaped Ethiopian literature during this period? What were the central themes they explored?
Oh, this was a truly vibrant era. It produced some towering literary figures. In drama, you absolutely have to talk about Tsege Gabra-Methine.
Okay.
He's celebrated as Ethiopia's greatest playwright and poet laureate. He masterfully used theater not just for entertainment, but to teach stories of Ethiopian past heroes. And he passionately championed these universal themes of peace, human rights, human dignity, making his work resonate far beyond Ethiopia's borders.
Sounds like a major figure.
He was an intellectual powerhouse, studied experimental theater in London and Paris, directed the prestigious Ethiopian National Theater, founded Addis Ababa University's theater department. He wrote primarily in Amharic, translated Shakespeare and Molière into Ge'ez and Amharic, but his outspokenness, tragically, led to his imprisonment by the Derg regime later on, and his writings were banned for a time. Many Ethiopians really consider him their Shakespeare.
A true cultural giant, then. A voice for his nation on so many levels. What about the novelists of this period?
The novel also truly flourished. Afewerk Gabra Iyasus is widely recognized as possibly Ethiopia's first novelist to gain repute. He pioneered the form in Amharic and often tackled contemporary political and social issues.
Okay.
This era also saw a whole cohort of other influential writers, people like Lev Walad Tariq, Berhanu Zerahun, Olu Jirma, Hadi Salamayahu.
Yeah.
They collectively explored a range of themes: national identity, societal change, the complexities of modernization.
Right.
Even prominent political figures contributed. Prime Minister Bitwated Mikonnen and Dalkachu published a novel directly addressing the historical events around the Italian invasion.
Fascinating.
Other authors, like Kevede Michael, in his work Silitane Minanek, which means what is civilization, critically examined the perceived failures of modernization, often blaming a sense of alienation, cultural loss. Similarly, Jermichu Tekla Hawariat offered critiques of both the socialist revolution and the uncritical adoption of westernization.
This rich literary output, so deeply engaged with societal questions, makes you wonder, how did the immense political upheaval of Ethiopia's history impact this blossoming artistic expression?
That's a critical question. The Derg regime, which seized power in 1974, brought this flourishing artistic fervor to, well, a sudden halt.
Really?
Yes, artists were suddenly expected to concentrate solely on revolutionary duties, meaning art and music became instruments of political propaganda.
Oh, wow.
Which, as you can imagine, provoked significant resistance from artists and intellectuals who valued their creative freedom. The imprisonment and banning of Tsege Gabra-Methine's works are stark examples of this suppression. Many works were either censored or driven underground. This era really illustrates the universal tension between artistic freedom and political control, and how art, even when suppressed, often becomes this potent site of resistance, a voice for suppressed truths, often creating a deep and lasting impact later on.
Beyond written works, what about Ethiopia's performing arts? Are there notable institutions or modern cultural figures that have left a lasting mark?
Absolutely. The Hager Fikir Theater in Addis Ababa, established way back in 1935, is recognized as one of the best and oldest indigenous theaters in Africa.
Wow.
It's been a crucial incubator for talent, nurturing artists like the renowned singer Astor Week.
Ah, Asterik, yes.
In the world of music, you have Mulatu Astakesh, rightfully celebrated as the father of Ethio jazz. He brilliantly fused traditional Ethiopian music with jazz, creating this unique sound that gained international recognition and continues to influence global music today,
Ethio jazz is amazing.
isn't it? And filmmaker Haile Gerima has explored Ethiopian and African diaspora history with powerful, critically acclaimed works like Sankofa and Adwa, and African Victory, bringing these vital narratives to a global audience.
Important films.
Very. And of course, Astarekik, as mentioned, is widely regarded as the most famous female singer in Ethiopia, a true icon.
It's truly amazing how Ethiopian artists have not only preserved their unique heritage, but also made such a profound mark globally, influencing and being influenced by global trends.
Definitely.
This really demonstrates a dynamic cultural landscape that extends way beyond its borders, where cultural production can project a nation's identity and heritage onto the world stage, creating bridges and fostering understanding across diverse communities. 4. The spiritual foundation, religion and its intersections. Ethiopia's religious history is exceptionally deep and complex.
Very much so.
Our sources trace back to ancient Greek and Roman accounts referencing blameless Ethiopians, even suggesting, as we noted, that Egyptians derived their civilization and religion from Ethiopia. What were these ancient beliefs, and how did Coptic Christianity eventually become so central?
Well, the pre-Christian beliefs were indeed rich. Ancient Kushite beliefs, for instance, involved priest-kings who were deified upon death, a common feature in many ancient African spiritual systems.
Right.
Ethiopia was even seen in some traditions as the grandmother of Egypt, or Kemet, the traditional name for ancient Egypt, having supposedly taught Kemet people the worship of God.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
It is, but it speaks to the perceived antiquity and influence. The concept of Mat embodying divine order, justice, cosmic balance, which was crucial to ancient Egyptian spirituality, was also deeply shared, highlighting these profound philosophical connections. Animals like the cow held significant mythological importance. Imagery like Het Heru, or Isisasset, wearing cow horns, is said to originate from the deep south of Africa. The three crowns of Ethiopia, Kemet, and Kush symbolized rulership, power, and cosmic order, signifying dominion over both physical lands and spiritual realms.
Fascinating symbolism.
And the solar Ethiopic crown, often linked to the Cabria Nagast, the narrative of Solomon and Sheba in the Ark of the Covenant, represented submission to God and the line of Judah.
So, a profound indigenous spiritual tradition was firmly established long before Christianity arrived. How did Coptic Christianity, introduced in the 4th century AD with King Ezana's conversion, transform this already rich spiritual landscape?
Its impact was absolutely transformative. King Ezana's conversion to Coptic Christianity, following the lead of Alexandrian Egypt, made it the official state religion.
A huge shift.
Monumental. This profoundly influenced Gaya's literature, as we discussed, and cemented Gaya's status as the language of the church, serving as the primary vehicle through which Abyssinian culture was spread. For centuries, literally centuries, the ecclesiastical sphere dominated and shaped most facets of organized expression, including literature, art, and music. Christianity wasn't merely a personal belief system, it became this all-encompassing cultural and intellectual force, acting as a crucial filter through which both old and new facets of thought had to pass, and profoundly shaping national identity and governance for well over a millennium.
It's truly fascinating how religious beliefs are so deeply intertwined with national identity and historical narratives in Ethiopia. While Christianity held such immense sway, our sources also highlight the presence of other faiths. What about Islam and animism in Ethiopia's religious landscape?
Good point. Despite the powerful influence of Orthodox Christianity, Islam has a deeply significant and historically rooted presence. Today, roughly 33% of Ethiopia's population identifies as Muslim.
A significant portion.
Very. Islamic schools, madrasas, coexisted alongside Orthodox Christian schools and later missionary schools, providing education and spiritual guidance. And what's particularly insightful, going back to those social networks.
The Adir and Iqub.
Yes. Sources note they transverse Ethiopian lives across linguistic, religious, or ethnic backgrounds, meaning they are found within Muslim communities as well, demonstrating how unifying cultural elements can often bridge religious divides.
That's important. And animism, how did that ancient indigenous tradition fare?
Animism is described as an ancient indigenous religious tradition that was widely practiced across many regions. However, historically, it was often subjected to forced conversion and cultural assimilation efforts by the dominant Orthodox Christian state, particularly during periods of expansion.
So suppressed.
Often, yes. But despite these pressures, it frequently persisted, sometimes overtly, sometimes more subtly, coexisting as a marginalized but resilient belief system, which demonstrates the incredible diversity of spiritual belief within the nation, even when some have faced historical suppression. It really speaks to the enduring nature of deeply held indigenous beliefs.
It's clear that religion in Ethiopia wasn't just a personal belief. It was a powerful political and ideological institution. How did it both legitimize power and, at times, become a source of conflict that shaped the state?
Religion, particularly Orthodox Christianity, undeniably served as a major political and ideological institution that legitimized power, and it facilitated profound state transformations. Ethiopian regimes were fundamentally tethered to the idea of divine Christendom.
Divine, right, essentially.
Exactly. Seeing their rule as divinely sanctioned, with emperors often tracing their lineage back to Solomon and Sheba, the church itself was this powerful, conservative force with immense wealth and considerable landholdings.
Which must have caused friction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This often led to it colliding with secular rulers over issues like tax exemptions or questions of state control over church appointments. Even Haile Selassie's new constitution, while modernizing, ultimately transferred the legitimizing function from the church to the monarch, highlighting this constant negotiation and rebalancing of power between the two spheres.
Right.
Interestingly, even the early Derg regime, despite its Marxist ideology, initially remained committed to what it called the old Orthodox Christian demarcation of the nation, recognizing the deep cultural and political power the church still held.
This dynamic between church and state sounds like a constant, often fraught negotiation. What about conflicts between different faiths, or periods of toleration, or the lack thereof?
Well, conflicts between Christian and Muslim forces were indeed significant factors throughout Ethiopian history, often leading to internal strife, territorial disputes.
Right.
The Italian occupation from 1935 to 1941, for instance, explicitly exploited religious divisions, displaying favoritism towards Muslims and actively promoting Islamic influences in certain regions, specifically to create fissures within the Ethiopian body politic.
A divide and conquer tactic.
Precisely, a brutal strategy that also included the summary execution of Christian Orthodox bishops and non-Christian traditional healers, or witch doctors as the source calls them, a horrific tactic designed to sow discord and weaken traditional leadership structures. Earlier, Emperor Tewodros II, in his quest for unity, attempted to ban certain doctrinal crises within the Orthodox Church, but also, revealingly, expelled Catholic missionaries due to fears of foreign influence, showing this complex approach to religious unity that prioritized national sovereignty above all.
Okay.
And even Iyyasu's flirtation with Islam in the early 20th century, which might have been aimed at bridging religious divides, instead caused many of his followers to desert him, led to accusations of him being a traitor to Ethiopia and the Coptic Christian faith, contributing to his eventual deposition.
So it backfired.
Massively. This complex interplay of faith, power, and conflict really reveals how religion can be both a unifying force and, tragically, a profound source of division in national politics. A land of diverse tongues, Ethiopia's language families.
Ethiopia truly is a linguistic marvel, famously described as that mosaic of nationalities speaking a multiplicity of languages that fall into 4 major categories.
It's an incredible linguistic landscape.
What are these categories, and what makes this linguistic diversity so significant for understanding the nation?
Well, these categories represent distinct linguistic histories and cultural groups that have shaped Ethiopia for millennia. Understanding them is absolutely key to appreciating the nation's profound and intricate diversity.
Okay, let's break them down.
First, you have the Cushitic languages, generally considered among the most ancient in the region.
Okay.
This group is incredibly broad. It includes the Aga people, who were the founders of the medieval Zagwe dynasty.
Right, Lalabella's dynasty.
Exactly. Also the Beysha, the Somali, known for their strong nationalism and historical conflicts with the central state, sometimes receiving external support. The Afar, closely linked to the scorching Danakil Depression and the site of Lucy's discovery, with ethnic ties extending across Djibouti, Eritrea, and Ethiopia. The Saho, the Hadia, the Kambata, the Gideo, and crucially, the Oromo, who represent the largest single nationality in Ethiopia, speaking a widely used Cushitic language.
Wow, that's a huge group.
It is. Next are the Omotic languages, also considered most ancient. These languages are primarily named for their location around the Omo River in the southwest. Includes groups like the Dorsey, Janjaro, Kafa, Wolaita, Disi, also called Jumeirah, and Maji. Their deep roots in this distinct geographical region highlight ancient patterns of settlement and cultural development.
Okay, ancient roots there too.
Then we move to the Semitic languages. Now, while considered the most recent arrivals in Ethiopia's long history, they have undeniably played the most dominant role in the country's political and cultural narrative.
Right, like Amharic.
Exactly. The oldest form is Ge'ez, which, as we discussed, is now primarily confined to ecclesiastical use. Other prominent Semitic languages include Tigrinya, spoken in the north, Amharic, which became the first official language of the modern state, Guraj, a cluster of languages spoken in the central south, and Harari, spoken in the ancient walled city of Harar.
Got it. And the fourth category?
Finally, the Nilo-Saharan group. This represents an independent strain found predominantly in the western fringes of Ethiopia, bordering Sudan and South Sudan. This category includes languages spoken by groups such as the Kunama, found in southwestern Eritrea, the Gumuz in Matakal in western Gojam, the Manjangir, the Anuak, and the Nuer.
That is an astonishing array of languages, representing these deep historical layers and a truly complex demographic landscape.
It really is complex.
What stands out here is how these linguistic divisions not only reflect ancient histories, but often correlate profoundly with geographical and ethnic identities, providing a deeper understanding of that mosaic. This deep dive into language families offers, I think, unparalleled insights into ethno-linguistic diversity and its impact on national identity, showcasing a level of internal complexity that few nations on Earth possess.
You really get a sense of the layers. Geography and environment, the land that shaped a civilization.
Let's shift our focus now to the land itself. Ethiopia's geography is famously described as having awe-inspiring mountains, isolated plateaus, and precipitous valleys.
Dramatic is an understatement.
How has this incredibly varied and dramatic landscape profoundly influenced life, culture, and the very trajectory of its civilization?
Well, the topography of Ethiopia has, without exaggeration, profoundly influenced its history and their diverse ways of life within it. It's not just a backdrop, it's an active force shaping things.
How so?
The country is broadly divided into three major climatic zones, each fostering distinctive ways of life, even shaping social temperaments, according to some sources.
Okay.
First, the Daga. This represents the cool highlands, with an annual average temperature around 16 degrees Celsius. These are the high, fertile plateaus often associated with settled agriculture.
Right, the highlands.
Below that is the Wayna Daga. This is an intermediate zone at mid-altitudes, which is where most settled populations live, enjoying more temperate conditions.
The majority live there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, the Qualia. This comprises the hot valleys and plains, heavily influenced by the desert conditions of the Rift Valley.
Okay, the hot lowlands.
Exactly. The Danakil Depression, a subregion of Kola, is particularly striking. It lies well below sea level, separating Ethiopia from similar terrains in Arabia, and is famously the site of Lucy's discovery in 1974, a testament to its ancient paleontological significance.
So a place that is today a scorching desert was once a lush basin. What's truly striking here is that geological evidence suggests this Neo-Ethiopian desert was once abundantly watered and well-timbered, supporting elephants and giraffes around 10,000 years ago.
Imagine that transformation.
It's almost unimaginable. This illustrates how geography isn't just a static backdrop, is it? It's an active, dynamic force shaping human history and cultural development over these dramatic environmental shifts across millennia.
Absolutely. Beyond its dramatic terrain, Ethiopia is also home to significant lakes and river systems, often referred to as its lifeblood.
Right, the water sources.
What are the most important ones? And what role have they played in shaping the country's history and culture? Well, the Great Rift Valley cuts through Ethiopia, hosting this major chain of lakes, including Zwe, Lengano, Abyata, Shala, Awasa, Abaya, Chamo, and the vast Lake Turkana, sometimes called Lake Rudolph.
Lake Turkana, right on the border.
Exactly, straddling the Ethiopia-Kenya border. It serves as a terminus for river systems like the Omo River, which flows from the southwestern highlands. Historically, this region was a dynamic zone, Powerful Abyssinian monarchs, for example, forced the Oromo people to migrate toward the vicinity of Lake Rudolph back in the 14th and 15th centuries, highlighting its role as a significant geographical marker for human migration and sometimes conflict.
And then, of course, there's the Nile.
The Nile.
Our sources call it the Happy River, a living archive, and the oldest keeper of memory. Its significance must be immense.
The Nile is absolutely a central and unifying force, not just for Ethiopia, but for vast swaths of Africa. Over 4,100 miles long, it's unique in its northward flow, connecting regions from the Congo Basin and Sudan all the way to the Mediterranean.
Incredible river.
It's described as a conduit between physical and spiritual realms, connecting memories, thoughts, prayers through ancient African practices like libation. Crucially, the Nile River Valley culture is understood by some sources to have originated in the center and south of Africa and then moved northward along the river.
Interesting theory.
Ethiopia is profoundly described as the place of beginnings because the Blue Nile, which contributes the majority of the Nile's water, originates there from Lake Tana in its highlands.
The source of the Blue Nile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Further north, Kush, with its ancient centers at Napata and Meroe, was seen as the spiritual navel and a powerful seat of power, where the Blue and White Niles converge at modern-day Khartoum.
And a yellow Nile. This is truly a fascinating detail mentioned in the sources.
Indeed. The mention of a yellow Nile truly reshapes our understanding of ancient African connectivity. Historically, evidence suggests there was a yellow Nile that branched westward towards Lake Chad some 6,000 to 10,000 years ago.
Wow.
This ancient river system served as a vast oasis, critically bridging the gap between East Africa and West Africa, facilitating trade, migration, cultural exchange across the continent. This now dried-up river demonstrates a profound historical connection between the Nile Valley and West Africa, challenging previous assumptions of limited interaction and revealing how deeply interconnected ancient African civilizations really were through these vast, dynamic river systems.
Beyond its breathtaking natural beauty, what specific natural resources and agricultural bounty did Ethiopia's diverse environment provide? Things that sustained its civilization and shaped its economy.
While the temperate northern and central highlands, blessed with heavy rains, consistently supported abundant agricultural productivity. Our sources highlight that Ethiopia cultivated grains upon lands richer and wider than the whole of Egypt, a testament to its fertility.
That's saying something.
It is. Key staple crops included teff, essential for injera, of course, and nsat, a versatile root vegetable, sometimes called the false banana, that served as a staple in the southern parts of the country.
Okay.
Beyond crops, livestock was also pivotal. Wild oxen, cows, horses, sheep were supposedly yoked and tamed eons before everyone else, indicating Ethiopia's pioneering role in early agriculture and animal husbandry.
Early innovators.
The ancient Kushites, for example, were also proficient in metalworking, having perfected tools before recorded history, according to one source. And of course, coffee. Originating in Jimma's forests, it became Ethiopia's biggest export commodity, driving its economy.
Coffee is huge.
Absolutely. Other valuable exports included hides, skins, civet musk used in perfumes, and wax. Near the Rift Valley lakes, obsidian, a volcanic glass, was extensively used for tools by early humans. And today, water and, in certain regions, oil remain critical resources, often becoming sources of intense conflict, particularly in areas like the Yucatan.
So, from staple foods that fed millions to strategic resources that shaped its economy and even sparked conflicts, Ethiopia's environment is undeniably intertwined with its destiny.
Completely.
This demonstrates the profound and often dramatic link between natural resources, economic development, and historical power dynamics, painting this comprehensive picture of how the land itself is really a key protagonist in its civilization's story.
A major player, for sure. 7. Historical eras and pivotal rulers, shaping modern Ethiopia.
Okay, let's quickly trace Ethiopia's dynastic history, just to set the stage before we dive into the more modern era. Where do we truly begin to understand the foundations of the Ethiopian state?
Well, we really have to start with the Aksumite Empire, flourishing between the 1st and 8th centuries CE. It's widely recognized as the lineal predecessor of modern Ethiopia.
Aksum.
Known for its extensive trade networks across the Red Sea, its military conquests, its rich cultural output. Its major port, Adulis, was this bustling commercial hub connecting Africa to the wider world.
A major power.
Definitely. And a truly pivotal moment in Aksumite history, and indeed for Ethiopia, was King Ezana's conversion to Christianity in the 4th century CE. That fundamentally transformed the empire's religious and cultural landscape, making Christianity the official state religion.
And what came after Aksum's decline?
The Zagwe dynasty followed, ruling the Highland Kingdom from about the mid-11th century to 1270 CE. This dynasty, founded by an Aga overlord, is most famous for those extraordinary rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, carved around 1250 CE under King Gebre Meskel Lalibela.
Right, we talked about those.
Exactly. Then, in 1270, the restored Solomonic dynasty began, claiming direct descent from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a lineage that profoundly influenced the Ethiopian state and church for centuries, providing this powerful narrative of continuity and divine right.
The Solomonic line.
Yes. Notable Solomonic rulers include Emperor Amdasai the Scope, who skillfully re-established suzerainty over various Muslim kingdoms; Zara Yacob, described as a fanatical Christian, who significantly encouraged church building and the development of Ge'ez literature; and Fasilides, who made that crucial move by establishing Gondar as a fixed capital, shifting away from a more nomadic royal court, and famously expelling Jesuit missionaries, asserting Ethiopian Orthodox autonomy.
Asserting independence there.
Right. Eventually, this long period of Solomonic rule gave way to a more fragmented era, known as the Age of the Princes.
That's a remarkable sweep of history. So this long period of centralized rule eventually gave way to the Age of the Princes. What exactly characterized this era of apparent decentralization?
Well, from around 1766 to 1855, the Age of the Princes, or Zemene Mesafint, was a period of decentralized provincial autonomy, marked by significant civil strife and a succession of puppet emperors in Gondar who held little real power.
So chaos, basically.
Pretty much. True political power was fragmented, divided among competing powerful regional nobles, the Mesafint, who constantly vied for territorial control, leading to the empire's disintegration into numerous pseudo-independent feudatories. This era was a significant test of Ethiopia's resilience, demonstrating how easily centralized authority could erode under internal pressures. And it really set the stage for the powerful drive for reunification that would follow.
The Age of the Princes ended with the rise of Emperor Tewodros II. How did he manage to end this fragmentation and begin to lay the groundwork for modern Ethiopia?
Tewodros II, who reigned from 1855 to 1868, was a truly transformative figure. He forcefully embarked on this mission of reunification and development, aggressively centralizing power, working to break down traditional feudal divisions.
A unifier.
Definitely. He appointed loyal administrators and, crucially, created a disciplined, professional state army equipped with modern firearms. He even initiated pioneering domestic weapons production. He attempted to ban religious doctrinal crises to foster unity within the Orthodox Church. And he made early diplomatic contacts with European powers, seeking technology and expertise while firmly restricting missionary proselytizing, underscoring his desire for modernization, but on Ethiopia's own terms.
Right.
He also successfully broke the Egyptian hold on the economically vital Massawa port, an early assertion of national interest. His overarching ambition was to modernize Ethiopia under Ethiopia's independently defined and stated terms.
But his reign ended tragically, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Frustrated by the slow pace of reforms, facing waning political support, he eventually held British missionaries and diplomats captive, which ultimately led to this formidable British expedition of 32,000 soldiers.
Oh, wow.
In a final, desperate act, he committed suicide on April 13, 1868, rather than face capture. The British subsequently plundered Magdala, his mountain fortress, taking invaluable crowns, swords, altar slabs, and over 400 manuscripts, artifacts that are still, to this day, requested for return.
A huge cultural loss.
Immense. This event set a stark precedent for Ethiopia's ongoing struggle against foreign intervention and the preservation of its cultural heritage. So yes, a tragic end, but a powerful legacy of centralized state building that set a new direction for the country.
His policies were notably continued or built upon by Emperor Johannes IV.
Precisely. Emperor Johannes IV, who reigned from 1872 to 1889, built upon Tewodros' foundation. He tremendously increased Ethiopia's arms and ammunition and achieved remarkable success in foreign policy, skillfully deterring European expansionist adventures during that intense 19th century scramble for Africa.
A difficult time to navigate.
Extremely. Internally, he also played a key role in the final resolution of a long-standing theological dispute within the Orthodox Church concerning the nature of Christ, bringing our much-needed measure of religious unity and stability to the state.
And then came Emperor Menelik II, widely revered as the founder of modern Ethiopia. This is a pivotal point in the narrative, isn't it? What were his defining achievements that really solidified Ethiopia's place on the world stage?
Menelik II, reigning from 1889 to 1913, was a truly visionary leader. He successfully unified vast national territory, effectively doubling the size of his control, and established Addis Ababa as the new permanent capital in 1886.
A huge expansion.
Massive. His defining moment, however, was undoubtedly the Battle of Adwa in 1896, where Ethiopian forces under his direct leadership decisively defeated Italian invaders.
Ottawa, so important.
Monumental. This was a truly monumental victory, making Ethiopia unique among African nations in successfully defending its independence against European colonialism. It was widely regarded as one of the worst colonial disasters of modern history for a European power, completely reshaping global perceptions of African capabilities.
It changed everything.
It really did. Menelik also initiated extensive modernization projects, introducing telephone and telegraph systems, constructing crucial roads and bridges, establishing the country's first national currency in 1894, founding the Bank of Abyssinia in 1905, building the Franco-Ethiopian Railroad, and establishing the first modern school, the Menelik II School, in 1908.
Laying the infrastructure.
Exactly. He skillfully manipulated European interests to acquire modern facilities and weapons while strongly resisting any undue economic demands that would compromise Ethiopian sovereignty.
What's the broader implication here? Menelik's reign established Ethiopia as a formidable, independent African state, profoundly influencing global perceptions of African agency.
Right.
These emperors Tewodros, Yohannes, and Menelik collectively demonstrate how strong visionary leadership combined with military prowess and strategic modernization can shape a nation's destiny in the face of immense imperial pressures, offering invaluable lessons, really, in statecraft and national resilience.
A remarkable period.
Following Menelik's powerful legacy, we enter the era of Emperor Haile Selassie I, who reigned for over 4 decades, from 1930 to 1974. What were his early efforts to further modernize Ethiopia and consolidate its position?
Haile Selassie I, born Lishtafari Makonnen, was definitely a keen modernizer. He introduced Ethiopia's first written constitution on July 16, 1931, aiming to centralize governmental power, diminish the influence of the old feudal lords, and establish an appointed bicameral legislature.
Centralizing power.
Yes. He invested significantly in state-sponsored education, founding the Tafari Makonnen School in 1925, and actively promoted modern nationalism through communication technologies. He secured Ethiopia's entry into the League of Nations in 1923, hoping it would guarantee peace and collective security.
A big step internationally.
Huge. His elaborate coronation in 1930 attracted massive international attention, symbolizing Black independence and majesty on a world stage. And he was a true polyglot, fluent in multiple languages, including Amharic, Tigrinya or Armenia, English, and German.
Despite these ambitious efforts, Ethiopia faced its greatest existential challenge during his reign, the brutal Italian invasion.
Indeed. Italy's invasion in 1935 under Mussolini's fascist regime was a true watershed in the history of the fascist project of Italian modernity. It plunged Ethiopia into this desperate struggle, transforming it into a global symbol of resistance against fascism and colonialism, often referred to, as you said, as the black man's last citadel.
A symbol of resistance.
Absolutely. Selassie himself showed immense courage, personally joining his troops at the war front, even operating anti-aircraft guns, according to reports. Forced into exile in 1936, he delivered that historic and impassioned appeal to the League of Nations in Geneva, condemning Italy's aggression and famously predicting that fascism, if unchecked, would eventually engulf Europe.
He was right.
Chillingly prophetic. His stand earned him Time magazine's Man of the Year honor.
His global appeal during this period was immense, wasn't it? Particularly for Pan-African movements and Black communities worldwide.
Absolutely. The invasion and Selassie's courageous resistance powerfully spurred this Pan-Africanist impulse among Black Americans and diaspora communities across the globe, inspiring civil rights initiatives.
Right.
Rastafarians, in particular, came to revere him as a divine figure, the earthly representative of Jah, seeing his coronation as a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. His powerful 1963 speech at the United Nations, a moving call for world peace and equality, notably inspired Bob Marley's iconic song, War, cementing his legacy in global popular culture as well.
Yet, despite his global stature and early modernization efforts, his later years were marked by growing criticism and ultimately his downfall.
That's the tragic turn. By the 1960s, Haile Selassie's policies increasingly drew criticism. His government was perceived by many as pushing Ethiopia into the periphery of Western capitalism without addressing deep internal inequalities and maintaining an over-centralized, often absolutist power structure.
Problems mounting.
Yes. The devastating Wallow famine of 1972-1974 exposed the government's inadequate response and the widespread economic problems, exacerbating public dissatisfaction and igniting popular unrest. This widespread discontent culminated in a popular revolt that deposed Haile Selassie on September 12, 1974, effectively ending the ancient Solomonic lineage that had ruled Ethiopia for centuries.
The end of an era.
Truly. He died in mysterious circumstances while in custody in August 1975. His remains were later discovered under a palace toilet in 1992, a somber, almost unbelievable end to a remarkable and incredibly complex reign.
What's the key takeaway from his incredibly complex legacy? He was a modernizer, an international icon against fascism, yet ultimately an autocrat whose regime collapsed under the weight of unaddressed social issues.
It's full of paradoxes.
His story truly highlights the paradoxes of modernization under centralized power and the heavy, often tragic, cost of failing to address deep-seated social inequalities.
The fall of Haile Selassie led directly to the rise of the Derg regime. How did this military junta fundamentally reshape Ethiopia, and what was its impact?
Right, the Derg.
The Derg, or Provisional Military Administrative Council, PMAC, seized power after that popular revolt in 1974, ending what had been 16 centuries of royal rule and the lineage of the oldest Christian theocracy in the world. They very quickly adopted Marxist rhetoric and declared Ethiopia a socialist state, with a distinct philosophy of Ethiopian socialism, or Hebrides Bawanet, emphasizing equality, self-reliance, the common good. Major Mengistu Haile Mariam quickly emerged as the elected and increasingly dominant leader.
Their policies were sweeping, aiming for radical societal change, and often brutally implemented, weren't they?
They were indeed. They launched a radical land nationalization program in March 1975, distributing properties based on usufruct rights, aiming to dismantle the imperial land system. However, this policy ironically stifled individual and communal creativity, removed incentives for farmers, leading to widespread agricultural problems down the line.
Unintended consequences.
Big time. A major and often disastrous initiative was the villagization project, which forcibly relocated millions of peasants into planned villages, disrupting traditional lives and livelihoods. They also nationalized private banks, insurance companies, bringing all major economic sectors under state control.
Total state control.
And Mengistu consolidated his power through ruthless violence, exemplified by Bloody Saturday, where 59 former officials were executed without trial, and the infamous Red Terror campaign against opponents like the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Party, leading to indiscriminate killings and summary executions.
A terrifying time.
It was. Artists, as we mentioned, were expected to focus solely on revolutionary duties. Art became an instrument of political propaganda, leading to a stifling of creative freedom. Tragically, the 1980s saw severe famines, claiming over 1 million lives, further exposing the regime's failures.
This sounds like a period of immense suffering and profound upheaval. What ultimately led to the Derg's downfall?
Well, the combination of failed economic policies, widespread famines, and mounting internal insurrections from various rebel groups proved unsustainable. Mengistu Haile Mariam himself actually admitted the failure of the Marxist economic system in 1990, a stark reversal. Ultimately, the Derg was overthrown by the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, in May 1991, bringing an end to nearly 2 decades of military rule.
Yeah.
The critical insight here, I think, is how revolutionary ideals, even if initially well-intentioned, can be tragically corrupted by authoritarianism and lead to devastating human costs when they fail to account for individual incentives, cultural realities, and fundamental human dignity.
With the Derg's fall, the EPRDF, led by Meles Zenawi, took power. What were the key reforms and policies of this new era? How did they attempt to rebuild Ethiopia?
Meles Zenawi served as interim president from 1991 to 1995 and was widely considered the dominant intellectual figure of the new administration. The EPRDF swiftly moved Ethiopia away from Marxist-Leninist ideology toward economic liberalization and a market-oriented economy, which did lead to a significant increase in the overall GDP growth rate, at least initially.
A major shift in direction.
Huge. A new constitution was drafted through an extensive nationwide public debate process between 1992 and 1993, eventually adopted in 1994. This constitution controversially established ethnic federalism, granting significant autonomy to 9 regional entities based largely on ethnicity and recognizing rights to self-determination, cultural autonomy, and self-governance, a radical departure from previous centralized model.
Ethnic federalism, a big change.
And a controversial one. They also restored a free press and a vibrant civil society, leading to a proliferation of new magazines and newspapers. The massive former Ethiopian army was demobilized, and a new, smaller, and supposedly more diverse national army was planned with recruits drawn from all nationalities.
This sounds like a significant, if ambitious, shift towards democracy and decentralization. But were there criticisms or challenges to these reforms?
Yes, absolutely. Despite the stated goals of democracy and ethnic representation, critics quickly accused the government of corruption, nepotism, and favoritism towards the dominant Tigrayan ethnic groups within the EPRDF coalition.
Okay.
They also alleged dictatorial and brutal conduct in handling political opposition, leading to arrests and expulsions of students and teachers who voiced dissent. The Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, for instance, initially participated but notably withdrew from the political arrangement, citing grievances about marginalization.
Tensions remain.
Deep tensions. The 2005 general elections were particularly contentious. Opposition parties accused the ruling party of widespread electoral fraud. This led to massive protests where dozens of civilians died and thousands were detained, including prominent opposition politicians and newspaper editors, highlighting the deep fragility beneath the surface of the new political order.
And a momentous but also tragic development in this era was Eritrea's independence.
Correct. Zenawi's government made the difficult decision not to oppose Eritrea's demand for independence in 1993, which unfortunately rendered Ethiopia a landlocked country, losing its access to the sea.
A huge economic impact.
Massive. While initial cooperation agreements, including Ethiopia's foreign trade passing through Eritrean ports, seemed promising, this relationship soon dissolved into hostility. A violent border conflict from 1998 to 2000 erupted, causing tens of thousands of casualties and compounding regional refugee problems.
Who's devastated.
Economically, Ethiopia remained vulnerable due to its heavy dependence on coffee exports, which accounted for about 65% of its total trade, making it highly susceptible to global price shocks. Additionally, transnational financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank often dictated economic policies, influencing the nation's development path.
External pressures.
Right. Zenawi himself, however, gained international recognition. He was appointed to Prime Minister Tony Blair's Commission for Africa in 2004, focusing on good governance and poverty reduction across the continent.
What's the key takeaway from this post-Derg era? It vividly highlights the complex, often fraught challenges of transitioning to democracy and market economies in a multi-ethnic state,
It's incredibly complex.
including internal tensions, regional conflicts. This period demonstrates the ongoing global experiment in nation-building and the incredibly delicate balance required between reform, stability, and genuine representation, often with incredibly high stakes for its diverse populations.
A very difficult balance to strike. 8. Global influence and enduring legacy.
Beyond its internal story, Ethiopia holds this truly unique and powerful place on the global stage, especially in the context of Ethiopianism and Pan-Africanism.
Immense symbolic power.
What exactly does Ethiopia represent to the wider world, particularly for people of African descent?
Ethiopia became an unparalleled, powerful symbol globally of Black freedom and independent Black nationhood. It was seen as this romantic beacon of independence and dignity for colonized Africans and the diaspora worldwide. Remember, it was the only nation in Africa to have decisively defeated a European colonial power in the 19th century.
Ottawa again.
Ottawa loomed large. The biblical prophecy, Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God, resonated as an incredibly powerful slogan for both missionary efforts and burgeoning Black nationalist movements, offering this vision of redemption and self-determination.
Right.
This is profoundly intertwined with the concept of Afro-modernity, where Ethiopia's unique cultural and political history played a significant role in demonstrating how African nations could selectively incorporate Western technologies and discourses, but within existing African cultural practices, forging an autonomous, self-defined modernity that wasn't simply a copy of the West.
What truly stands out to you here?
Ethiopia's singular ability to resist colonialism, particularly that decisive victory at Adwa, made it this unique and enduring symbol. It became a powerful source of pride and inspiration for people of African descent worldwide, standing as a living testament to African agency. It powerfully inspired modern Black internationalism and Pan-Africanist movements, especially during the Italian invasion in the 30s, which galvanized support across the diaspora. This served as a potent trigger for civil rights initiatives and provided a crucial counter-hegemonic narrative against racial and economic imperialism. The profound impact a single nation's history can have on global struggles for freedom and self-determination offering this powerful testament to the universal human yearning for dignity and self-governance. It really cannot be overstated.
We've touched on this throughout our deep dive, but it's worth highlighting how Ethiopia's incredibly rich cultural heritage continues not only to thrive, but to be actively reclaimed and reinterpreted in the modern era.
Yes, that continuity and flexibility is key. The blend of continuity and remarkable flexibility in its artistic and social traditions has indeed led to what can be described as a cultural renaissance, sometimes referred to as Ethiopianization.
Ethiopianization.
Yeah. It isn't merely a cultural revival. It describes this unique process where traditional Ethiopian artistic, spiritual, social practices actively absorb, adapt, and transform external influences, creating something distinctly modern yet profoundly rooted.
Right.
Our sources point to a contemporary renaissance at home and abroad in the arts, theater, Orthodox Coptic Christianity, Islam, and ancient ethnic identities, demonstrating a dynamic, living culture.
It's still vibrant.
Very much so. For instance, there's a growing and effective movement to reclaim and return looted Ethiopian treasures from European museums, exemplified by that deeply symbolic return to the Aksum obelisk in 2005.
A tangible success.
Exactly. And critically, diaspora artists continue to represent Ethiopia's rich heritage and unique modern experiences, using universal media, music, film, literature, visual arts to articulate their complex identities and stories to the world.
So what insight does this offer us? This demonstrates a remarkably resilient and dynamic culture, constantly evolving while fiercely holding on to its roots, and actively engaging in this vital global dialogue about cultural ownership, representation. It's a living, breathing testament to the enduring power of cultural heritage to inspire, unify, and redefine a nation in a constantly changing world.
Well put. A living culture indeed. Outro.
We've journeyed through millennia today. From the towering Aksumite obelisks that marked an ancient empire to the miraculous rock-hewn churches of Lalibela.
An incredible span of time.
We've traced the evolution of its written word, from sacred gaze scripts to the vibrant narratives of modern Ethio-jazz. We've seen how Ethiopia, this incredible mosaic of nationalities, unifies through shared traditions, even a national dish, navigates truly diverse linguistic landscapes, and has been profoundly shaped by its dramatic geography and deep spiritual foundations.
So many layers.
We've explored the complex legacies of its visionary emperors and the tumultuous periods of revolution and reform, always framed by its unique position as this powerful symbol of African independence and self-determination.
Indeed. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how Ethiopia consistently offers this profound counter-narrative to Western portrayals of Africa as a dark continent devoid of history and civilization.
All right, challenging that narrative.
Absolutely.
Right.
It affirms, through its millennia-long history, African agency and a unique indigenous modernity, demonstrating an unparalleled cultural depth and resilience. This deep dive has revealed not just a historical account, but a powerful testament to human ingenuity, cultural perseverance, and that enduring quest for self-determination.
So what deeper insights can you, our listener, take from this incredible deep dive? You've now gained, hopefully, a shortcut to being exceptionally well-informed about a civilization that has navigated immense change, influencing global narratives of identity, freedom, human potential, proving that true strength often lies in deep roots and remarkable adaptability.
Which raises an important question, I think, for all of us. In a world grappling with this delicate balance between rapid globalization and the preservation of local identity, how might Ethiopia's millennia-long journey of adapting tradition while fiercely asserting its unique modernity offer insights into our own contemporary challenges today? Perhaps even inspire alternative paths forward for building resilient, culturally rich, and independent societies.
As you reflect on this incredible deep dive into Ethiopia's enduring civilization, consider this. If a nation can maintain its core identity, its spirit, and its influence on global consciousness for thousands of years, despite invasions, political upheavals, and the relentless march of modernity, what truly defines a civilization's resilience? And what profound lessons can we collectively take from Ethiopia's extraordinary journey for building truly sustainable, culturally rich, and independent societies in our rapidly changing world?